Coming up on Mountain News this morning, President-elect Donald Trump puts the finishing touches on his picks for cabinet and gets some early approval from the American public. Plus, people are still recovering from the effects of Hurricane Helene as workers continue months-long relief efforts.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Madison Carmouche. We are inching up to that 6 o'clock mark this Monday morning, and today is November 25th. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Desmall for a look at your forecast this morning. No parkas this morning, Megan. We just waltzed right in here. It wasn't even that cold or anything.
It sure wasn't. That's some good news, right? Yes. And those high temperatures are going to look even warmer, so definitely something to look forward to. So if you are someone who doesn't like the weather being just a little bit cold and need that jacket this morning, you might not need that heavy coat into the afternoon. But let's take a look at the satellite radar, as this morning you won't be needing a raincoat. However, we do have some rain that will be sprinkled throughout the mid-morning hours, and we'll have heavier rain start to increase as we're going into the afternoon and evening hours. But let's take a look at those temperatures, and it is quite warm for this time of year. I mean, 58 in Monticello right now, 52 in Somerset, but as you're traveling more towards the east, a little bit colder, but those high temperatures will be warm across the board, really looking in that low to mid 60s range. And the next couple hours, you can really just see how this is going to play up. We'll have those temperatures warm up. Cloudy skies will stay with us throughout most of the day. Again, a sprinkler or two is not out of the question in that mid-morning hours, but once you're going into the afternoon and evening, that's when you're going to see the rain chances start to pick up as you're going into your day. Madison.
All right, Megan, thank you. President-elect Donald Trump is making his final selections for who might join him in the White House as part of his cabinet in January. Naomi Ruckham brings us the results of the new poll.
This morning, we now know even more picks for President-elect Trump's incoming cabinet. That's new nominees for housing, labor, agriculture, and treasury. On Face the Nation Sunday, some Democrats expressed their willingness to work with the new administration.
I'm going to evaluate each one of these candidates based on their ability to do the job and their willingness to put the needs of the American people first.
And while the Trump transition has come with its fair share of drama, including sexual assault allegations against both a current and now former nominee, new CBS polling shows President-elect Donald Trump's incoming administration will have the benefit of mostly goodwill from the American public. A majority of Americans, 59%, approve of his handling of the transition, and more than half are either happy or satisfied that he won. On the issue of immigration, a vast majority believe any mass deportations should be done by government agencies, not the U.S. military, a move the president-elect signaled he might use despite pushback from some in his own party.
I will not support and will not vote to use the military in our cities.
Polling also shows most Americans believe the nominees should face hearings in the Senate rather than be fast-tracked into their new roles. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Some senators have also said they would like FBI background checks on some of the president-elect's nominees. The Texas Board of Education has voted to adopt a controversial plan allowing biblical teachings in the state's elementary schools. Members voted 8-7 in favor of the new curriculum after hearing from those both in favor and against the measure. The new Christian-based curriculum incorporates Bible lessons into lesson plans for students in kindergarten through 5th grade. But critics argue the lessons will alienate students of other faiths.
While I absolutely agree that there is Christian bias in this, there are other faiths recognized in this content.
If a parent or a teacher who didn't feel comfortable teaching this were to bring this up to a court, I believe they would be successful. And in my good conscience, in protecting my bar license, I just do not feel that these materials are yet reflective of the experiences and the nuance of Texas students.
The new lessons are optional for school districts, but those who do adopt them would receive additional funding. They are expected to be implemented next year. The Supreme Court has agreed to wade into a fight over Congress's ability to delegate power to federal agencies. Friday's appeal was filed by the Biden administration. At issue in the latest case is the mechanism used to fund the multi-billion-dollar Universal Service Fund, which through FCC provides reduced price phone and internet services for rural schools, low-income families, and others. The court is likely to decide the issue by June, which will come months after President-elect Donald Trump begins his second term. The United Nations Climate Change Conference ended Saturday in Europe with a new financial agreement to help developing countries. Wealthy countries pledged to spend $300 billion annually to poorer countries to help them deal with the impact of climate change. The annual contribution will continue through 2035. But some of the poorer nations say the money is not nearly enough. Developing countries have consistently said they need about $1.3 trillion in 1 year to help them cope with the climate crisis they have hardly caused. Emergency disaster services are experiencing their longest deployment in history as officials and volunteers continue their stay in North Carolina after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Even though the hurricane made landfall nearly 60 days ago, some workers who were deployed ahead of time have worked for more than 200 days. Despite this, officials still believe recovery efforts are moving quickly.
People are starting to elect not to stay in like their RVs or their tents, and they're moving into the public shelter elements or into their personal accommodations. So that's a good thing.
AP reports the flooding and destruction from the natural disaster has caused at least $53 billion in damages and recovery needs in western North Carolina. It's been nearly 1 month since officials say Mike and Connie Murphy crashed their single-powered parachute in Jessamine County. The couple died at the scene. Now, for the first time, their daughter is opening up about her parents and the impact they had on their community. Kristen McClure tells us Mike worked for the Lexington Police Department for more than 2 decades, and Connie was an art teacher for Fayette County Public Schools. McClure says her parents' legacy is more than how they died, but how they served others during their lives.
They deserve to be known for what they've done. They need to be recognized as not just victims of a horrible accidental crash. They were important people, and they just taught us so much about love, and we want to make sure that we carry on with that.
Kristen says her parents were married for nearly 50 years.
Overall, we're looking at a much warmer day today, and that will continue into your afternoon with high temperatures looking to be quite warm as well. But let's look at those current temperatures, and as you can see, as you travel more towards the west, that's where you're going to see those warmer temperatures, and towards the east, you're going to see the colder temperatures, 30 degrees in Grundy, but as you're heading towards Monticello, 58 degrees. And satellite and radar right now is looking quite clear, but as you go through the rest of the day, you could see a sprinkle or two in the morning, but the main weather that we'll be looking at will be in that afternoon and overnight hours that will go into your early hours Tuesday morning. But overall, those next 12 hours will be quite warm. We do expect to see those cloudy skies as you're heading throughout the day, with the rain sprinkled in throughout your morning hours, and again picking up as you're heading into your afternoon and evening hours. Madison.
All right, Megan, thank you. And thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. An annual train ride brought Santa to town for families who waited patiently for their presents.